My first question is on the quality of earnings and your evaluation of quality of earnings in the U.S. right now. And the second is what multiples should be put on asset gains, such as sale of bottling assets or reversal of merger reserves.
Taking the second question, for example, at Coca-Cola, where the bottling transactions are incidental to a long-term strategy which, in my view, has been enormously successful to date and which has more successes ahead of it. But in the process of rearranging and consolidating the bottling system and expanding to relatively undeveloped markets, there have been and there will be a lot of bottling transactions. And some produce large gains, some produce small gains. I ignore those in my evaluation of Coke. The two important elements in Coke are unit case sales and shares outstanding. And if the shares outstanding go down and the unit case sales advance at a good clip, you are going to make money over time in Coca-Cola. There have been transactions where people have purchased rights to various drinks. Coca-Cola's purchased some of those around the world. And when you see what is paid for 1 million or 100 million unit cases of business, and then you think to yourself that maybe Coke will add a 1.5 billion cases a year, that's a real gain in value. It's a dramatic gain in value, and that is what counts in terms of the Coca-Cola Company. If you think the Coca-Cola Company is going to sell some multiples of its present volume 15 or 20 years from now, and you think there'll be a lot fewer shares outstanding, you've gone about as far as you need to go. But I would pay no attention to asset gains. I would just take those out of the picture. Now, as to quality of earnings, Charlie and I feel that in several respects, but in one important respect, that the quality of earnings has gone down, not because the policy has changed, but because it's just become more significant, and that's in the case of stock options. There are certain companies that we've evaluated for possible purchase where in our calculation of earnings, the earnings are maybe 10% less per year, per share, than reported. And that isn't necessarily the end of the world, but it is a difference in valuation that is significant and is not reported under standard accounting. So we think the quality of earnings as reported by a company with significant stock option grants every year, we think is dramatically poorer than one where that doesn't exist. And there are a lot of companies that fall in that category. Coca-Cola's earnings are very easy to figure it out. Just figure out what they're earning per case from operations, and you'll see over the years the earnings per case go up, and the cases go up, and the shares go down. And it doesn't get much more complicated than that. Charlie?
You've said it wonderfully. I just wish we had more like that.
Yeah. GEICO, the key, the same way as policies in force and underwriting experience per policy. And that is exactly the way, as noted in the annual report, we pay people there. We pay them from the bottom to the very top based on what happens with those two variables. And we don't talk about earnings per share at GEICO, and we don't talk about investment income. We don't get off the track, because there are two things that are going to determine what kind of business that GEICO is over a long period of time. And policies at GEICO are unit cases at Coca-Cola.